Hey there, welcome to the garden. We got so much rain last night and we have been getting quite a bit of rain over the last few weeks. So I've just been coming out to kind of take a look at what I need to do because I feel like the whole garden gets a little bit, you know, just kind of flops over when we get all this rain. And then you kind of have to come up and prop everything back, but it's right, oh my gosh, we are right on the verge of everything starting to like really bloom. I can see so many different things that are budding up. We're just about to have, I would guess within the next like week and a half, I think the garden is just going to go completely crazy and it's gonna be like a whole second flush of tons of big flowers and everything like that. We are also starting to almost get into tomato season. The first tomato is starting to ripen and I'm kind of trying to see if I need to address anything over in this unheated greenhouse section, because as we've been getting the rain, as everything's been flopping and falling over and, you know, it tends to get a little wild. And so I wanted to just give you a little update on the unheated greenhouse frame area and see if we need to do any pruning in there. I do need to do a little bit of spraying with some BT. I've got some spider mites in one bed, so I thought I'd show you that as well. It's kind of just a little bit of a summer maintenance time. But let's check out the unheated greenhouse because that's really what I wanted to talk about today. So what I have done in there is used grow bags and left the frame of the greenhouse. So you may have seen some of my other videos where I got this set up. So basically I left the frame of the greenhouse as a support. And although I was hoping to grow gourds on it, my birdhouse gourds, I think there was something wrong with my seed packet because the birdhouse gourds, none of them germinated. But we do have, this is a black-eyed Susan vine that has started to grow up and kind of get established. It took a little while. It kind of just hung out for a bit, but that is starting to really grow up. So I think that's going to be beautiful once that starts to cover this and bloom. And those are pretty vigorous vines. I mean, that's going to really take off here pretty soon and should cover a good bit of it. It just is one of those situations where it didn't quite turn out how I planned. But the nice thing about using this frame as a support in the kind of off season of the greenhouse is it does work pretty well to support some of your plants. And so you could of course grow vines on it like I have been hoping to do, but I've also allowed my eggplants and squash to grow up through it, and it helps to kind of, yeah, just basically act as a support. As you can see, this is a really fun eggplant. This is the pumpkin on a stick. So it's gonna grow like basically little pumpkins. And I'm gonna try to dry it and use it as a decoration for fall. And that's really all that's growing in that grow bag, but we've got a couple. And there's a little bit of, I think this is spider mite damage on it. I'm just not worrying about that. I'm gonna let that go. I think the plants are pretty healthy. Maybe I'll spray it a little bit. I may have to come in with some BT. As you can see, we're getting some caterpillars. The little white moths are starting to come out. But we've also got the 8-ball zucchini, and this is growing up really nicely through the support system of the greenhouse. So this is where the greenhouse shelf would be, and I just took the shelves out and let it grow up through. Over here you can see how the shelf sits, and I put this little hay rack, which I'll admit, this does not look great. Although we are getting a few little tomatoes. Basically, the cocoa fiber liners just dry out so much. So they're just hard to keep watered enough, honestly, and that's what has happened with this hay rack. Frames of those hay rack planters that I have are starting, they were just kind of cheap hay racks, and they're starting to fall apart. I don't think I'm going to replace them with hay racks, to be honest. I love the look of the cocoa fiber liner. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but it just is so hard to keep watered. I had a couple that were lined with like a plastic liner, and that definitely helped. I mean, because then it was able to keep enough water in it. But if you don't have a plastic liner, it's just so hard. I have one hay rack up on my patio. She always like sings herself to sleep. I have one hay rack up on the patio, and that is close enough to the kitchen that I can get out there and water it quite a bit. So if I'm able to like water something twice a day, then the hay rack works, but I'm not able to do that down here, and so I probably just will skip that. I don't think I'm gonna grow in that again. Below it, I have my butterfly bush that is growing in a grow bag. So this is a Pugster Blue butterfly bush. It is a dwarf, like 2-foot tall butterfly bush, so it's not a huge butterfly bush in general, but it's been doing super great in that container. Butterfly bushes like poor soil, they like really dry conditions, so the grow bag is actually really perfect for them. Not everything grows super well in a grow bag, but again, you know, watering, if you can water enough, that's helpful. And I do have those grow bags on drip. But the butterfly bush is super happy. There had like a little bit of pest damage or some sort of blight or something was on it in the middle, but all the new leaves that are coming in look really healthy, so I'm not worrying about that too much. And as I said, it's about to bloom. That's another thing that's just gonna start. Like, there's so many plants in the garden right now just about ready to burst forth. So that's gonna be great, and that's gonna really bring in all the pollinators. I'm hoping that the pollinators will start coming to the butterfly bush, and then the 8-ball squash will start blooming, and we'll get a lot of squash. That it'll help draw in those pollinators. And then I have a couple containers that have the truffle pink gomphrena. I have a phlox in a container here at the front. And I need to plant that straw flower. It's actually not planted in that container, still in its nursery pot. And then there are some eggplants and a couple peppers, which the eggplants are starting to take off. And those are, again, another 15-gallon grow bag. It's hard to get into this space because I did put the container in here. It's a little hard to get in, and I have a nasturtium that's kind of filling up the walkway. So in the back container this year, the back 2 grow bags this year, so back here and back here, I put things that I didn't need to get in and harvest on. So these eggplants, we're just gonna let them grow up, and then they will dry out on the stem, and then I will harvest them for decorations. And then over here I just put, these are some Sunfinity sunflowers that I started from seed, and although there's a little bit, you can see there's some pest damage on them, but they are just about, again, another thing that is just about to bloom. That bud is really coming up. So, and there's parsley in here, so it's, you know, it's a little bit full, but I could open it up if I needed to. But I think I'm going to be able to harvest any eggplants off here and get to the 8-ball zucchini without any issue. And that was sort of my plan, and definitely something to consider. It feels like more space in here when you just have the grow bags. And last year I had the grow bags in there, and I planted like I think I planted some tomatoes, and I planted my pineapple ground cherries like in the back of grow bags, and it was really hard to get to them. So I definitely learned my lesson with that, and I've been much happier with the space this year that I put kind of like the decorative things to the back. And I just put the butterfly bush there because it's honestly, this is not the most attractive area of my garden. It's kind of like it's kind of unsightly, but this is one of the most sunny. It's like hot sun right here. And so it is perfect for a butterfly bush. And that's why I just wanted to give the butterfly bush like as perfect conditions as I could. So I threw it over there. And it's doing well. So that's just the update. I just wanted to share with you how it's doing and how I'm liking. It's functioning super well. Other than the hay rack not looking so great, I love the rest of it. And I think even if I had put like a regular window box that just wasn't that hay rack material, the cocoa fiber material, I think it would have done great. And it just kind of like worked perfectly to have that back section up against the house, to have something up on the shelf. So there's 2 ways that you can use, you know, these unheated greenhouse frames in the summer. You can either keep the shelves on and do something like that with window boxes, or you could use containers or whatever you wanted, or you can use it as like a frame and use it to support your plants as they grow up, which works really well. And squash do well growing up vertically like that, and of course eggplants and stuff need support, so it works great for that. So just a couple ideas if you've got one of these greenhouses. I definitely didn't really want to mess with taking the whole thing down. It's super easy to take the cover off and on, and actually it's not that hard to put the whole greenhouse back together, but I figured I could use it in a better way. And I also think it just kind of fills up that space. This is, as I said, like an awkward, weird section of my garden. There's gravel and pavers underneath here, and we've got the air conditioner and, you know, the all this mechanical stuff in the corner. And so it's just like kind of this random space. So at least I feel like the greenhouse frame kind of fills it up and makes it a little bit cute, and I can get back in there. And so many other things. I mean, oh my gosh, everything is starting to bloom. I don't even know where to turn to show you all the flowers. I'm gonna have to do a full garden tour here, and once everything starts blooming, because so many good things are happening. Look at these echinacea. Love it. And the cucamelons are starting to produce. I'm gonna have to get in here and harvest those. I will give you a little update here on the beans. They are starting to come up, less than a week really, and they are already coming up, starting to sprout. And so are the green onions. So that's very encouraging to see as well, the green onions. And I just have to stay on top of the pests with all of these, because we are getting into pest season. As you can see, there's a slug on my Swiss chard right there. It's just full force, especially with all this rain. We get, when we get a lot of rain, we get a ton of humidity. And so like for the slugs and the snails, I feel like this is just, you know, the weather that they love. And it's been a little bit cooler this year. Last year I had great Swiss chard, and it was some of the most beautiful, best crop that I had in my garden. And this year my Swiss chard looks like that. So it just shows you that, you know, every year is a little bit different. And I am kind of surprised, since we've had such a cool year. You know, you'd think the Swiss chard would be doing better, but it was just so covered by the nasturtiums that I had in that bed earlier that I think it was too much for them. They never really got like a good solid, didn't get established. So I'm just gonna let them do what they do, try to keep the slugs off them as best I can. And if I can't, you know, the basil that's right there, that's gonna grow up and get super full and big, and we'll just pull the Swiss chard out if we need to. We got the green onions, the beans, like so many things happening. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna give you one little, let's see, there's just so much to show. I'm gonna give you one little last update on these containers, because I wanna show you this Torenia right now. Torenia is one of my favorite, like part shade. If you've got a part shade garden, this is one of my favorite shade plants. I don't think it gets talked about enough. It does like a lot of water though. I will say it is one of the first things that dries out for me. And we've been getting so much rain that it looks super happy. So let me show you how it should look. Sometimes you see it at the garden center and it like doesn't look very good and looks kind of sad. This is what it should look like. And it's so pretty. And the bugs are not, well, yes, the pollinators, the butterflies, they love it, and it's beautiful. I think a wishbone plant is another name for it, because it has like that little wishbone in the middle. But yeah, I just have to highlight that, because that is the possibility. If it gets enough water and it's really part shade here, gets a little bit of morning sun, tiny bit of afternoon sun, it's super happy. That's what you want it to look like. These containers over here in general are doing pretty well. As you can see, my fish peppers are starting to put on some peppers. So the peppers have finally kicked into gear. And then, yeah, I've got a little bit more Torenia over here. It's has dried out a little bit more, has dried out a couple more times, because it's in this container with the salvia, beautiful salvia, and the Suncredible sunflower. And those, I think, are really taking up a lot of water. So this Torenia is not quite as happy, but since we've finally gotten some more consistent rain, it's starting to look a little bit better. And then the last thing, when I need to come out and spray today, is all of a sudden we've got a bunch of spider mites in this bed, and it's really taking after my snapdragons, which I'm super disappointed to see. I do need to come out and deadhead. These are the apple blossom snapdragons, and they've gone to seed. I think if I deadhead them, they will flush back. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe they will. So I'm gonna deadhead them and then treat this whole bed with, you know, all these plants with just like some BT spray. Got a little zinnia here popping up, and I've got another one that is growing out the back there. This is one of the Queen series zinnias, and then a Sunfinity sunflower planted from seed, about to bloom. I can't believe that sunflower survived. It got dug up a couple times by squirrels, but somehow it made it and it's growing. It is a true survivor, and it's doing pretty good as far as the pests too. I don't know if you can save seeds on Sunfinity. sunflowers. I think you probably can. If you can, I'm going to try to, because that is just like such a survivor, and I can't believe how it's not being, the other Sunfinity sunflowers are being pretty bugged by the pests, but that one is like looking so healthy and just has been surviving through kind of crazy conditions and growing through that squash and next to the tomatoes and everything. So that's a really sturdy plant. So I'm definitely going to try to save some seeds from that one. I shouldn't say that. I keep saying I'm going to try to save seeds. I thought I was going to save seeds from the foxglove. Didn't end up doing that. I'm thinking maybe the snapdragons, I might, but I don't know. The only thing that I am keeping, I am reserving to save seeds, because I really want to challenge myself to try to do it, is this one lettuce plant. It's in its own little container, tiny little pot, so I know I don't need to like pull it out for any reason to replace it with anything. And it's a little butter crunch lettuce, and it's about to flower, and I'm going to try to save seeds and see if I can get my own lettuce seeds, because that would just be so fun to do, and I've never done that. Speaking of another hay rack, I need to handle this situation, and that is on my list for this week. But anyways, yeah, we're gonna see. This will be cute when it flowers, little cute yellow flowers, and then we'll try to save the seeds, and I'll share that process with you when I get to it. All right, so that is the update from the Unheated Greenhouse, and kind of a little update of the rest of the garden. Thank you so much for spending some time out here with me, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.